Okay, and we are live. ¿Qué tal, amigos? Stuart here from Spain Speaks. Another live stream, Sunday evening, 7:35 p.m. People here in Spain getting ready for the big game tonight that starts at 8 p.m. And we'll see what happens with the Roja as they take on Germany in the World Cup today. Now, we'll go through some of the news that has caught my attention over the weekend. So let's have a look at this first one here. And it's about the city of Vigo and their Christmas lights. Christmas story or Christmas nightmare. Vigo's lights generate controversy yet again. The residents of downtown Vigo, where the large light installations that the City Council has been betting on for several years are concentrated, are the people most affected by Vigo's Christmas lights, a tourist attraction that brings thousands of people to the city for 2 months, but which makes many locals feel like they are in a theme park. We can't listen to the television or talk in our own home, laments one affected neighbour. Manuel Ramos complains that the noise of the crowds of people in the street, the music, the light, even the smells that go up to the flats around the Alameda is appalling. He is part of a residents' association that has already collected 1,700 signatures to demand a solution from the town hall. So there we go, Vigo making headlines again because residents there in the central part of that city, obviously where the Christmas lights are at their brightest, complaining that it brings noise, it brings tourists. They have trouble sleeping at night with these lights obviously coming into their rooms, and a petition has been signed to get rid of those lights. Now we know that Vigo here in Spain is the city, if it's not the first city to turn on the Christmas lights, it's the second one. They've already been turned on. In a lot of cities, I think this weekend, lights were turned on. In Madrid, for example, I think yesterday, the 26th, the lights went on. But in Vigo, the lights were turned on last week, I think. And although it does bring tourists to that area, we can see there locals complaining about the impact that those lights are having on those lives. And let's be honest, if you live in one of these central parts of a city here in Spain that does have tourism and lots of people walking around the streets at all times of the day, I imagine it can get a little bit annoying. So we'll see what happens there, but I don't think the mayor of Vigo is going to turn off those lights because, as we know, it's the number one thing that he likes to do in that city, of course. Mr. Caballero, I think his name is. Now, the second piece of news today, this one here about the building sector and the trouble they are having finding workers at the moment. The government summons trade unions to discuss the urgent arrival of foreign workers with 190,000 unemployed people in the sector. Building is a trade that the real estate bubble of 2007 turned into a symbol of an era, with 700,000 homes a year being built and works on the AVE high-speed trains, airports, motorways, conference centres, etc. all over Spain. The salaries of these workers responsible for the hard work of moulding concrete into building structures reached €3,000 a month. The relentless pace of the projects and the rush to complete them led the market to value the trade above many university-trained professions. Hundreds of thousands of building sector workers, bricklayers, painters, plasterers, plumbers, electricians, foremen, who came to form part of a sector that employed 2.7 million people, became unemployed with the bursting of the bubble. Today, the sector is looking for them for new works and cannot find them. Already last year, unemployment in this trade was sitting at a rate of over 25% in the lists of the unemployment services. So the building industry here in Spain having trouble finding workers. We know that they want to bring in foreign workers to fill some of the gaps in the jobs in this trade. They want to bring in people from South America, probably from other countries outside the European Union. The trade unions don't want that to happen. They want the sector to hire workers locally. But I think the problem is that people don't want to work in this industry at the moment because of the salaries that are on offer. Youth unemployment is high. And the building sector apparently wants to get young people coming into this trade because a lot of those people that were working in it back in pre-2008 days when those salaries were quite high, around €3,000 as we saw in that text, they're considered too old and they're not willing to work for the lower salaries anymore, I don't think. And young people apparently are also not willing to work for the low salaries that are being offered in this sector at the moment. So there's lots of works going on, lots of money being spent by local councils to to change the style of cities here. Lots of flats and apartment blocks being built, other public works that are on, but they can't find the workers, and unemployment still quite high. People not willing to work, as I said, for, I believe, low salaries in that sector. It's a shame because, as we know, Spain does have high unemployment. A lot of people can't understand why the unemployment rate in this country is so high when you see most people out and about every day doing a job, but obviously the figures don't lie, and sectors like this one here, the building sector, crying out for workers currently, but the Labor Ministry does not want to open the gates and allow people to come in, and that's what they are pushing for. So we'll see how this story pans out over the next few weeks and months. Now, the next piece of news, let's have a look at this one here. Let me see if I can remember what it's about. Yes, the drug trade in Spain. Drug traffickers in Spain reinvent themselves, how the drug business has changed in Spain. The good climate, the geographical location, and the large colonies of European residents make Spain the perfect breeding ground for criminal organisations dedicated to drug trafficking, which are in full transformation to expand the business behind the backs of the police. The country is no longer just one of the main ports of entry for drugs such as cocaine and hashish, but has become the jewel in the crown of marijuana production due to its high quality. In Europe, they are going crazy for it, says one researcher, a witness to how drug traffickers are mutating to expand their business. The figures support this. In a decade, production has multiplied by more than 1,000%. Spain is unique for this. It has a good climate and a prosperous land that allows marijuana to be grown in large quantities and at a good price and excellent quality. It's a great business, or almost, and the criminal organisations know it. Gangs that like to be in the country, settling on the Costa del Sol, the Levante, or the Costa Brava, they go unnoticed among so many European colonies that invest in our coasts. So we can see there the rampant drug trade here in Spain, Europeans going crazy for Spanish-grown marijuana, as we saw there, and the relaxed lifestyle, the good weather, big foreign communities in this country make it easy for foreign criminal gangs to blend in. So no doubt if you are living in one of these foreign communities here in Spain, you've probably got a few people around you that are in this trade, or at least that's what articles like that would like you to believe. So yeah, interesting. And Spain has, well, we've seen in recent times on this channel the amount of huge drug busts that have taken place in recent times. I've got this graphic here, and we can see that this is how drugs enter and leave Spain. The routes of entry and exit, major producers and distributors, and the hotspots. So we can see here that the drugs coming in, for example, heroin coming in from Holland, and Catalonia, thanks to its location, has become the starting point for marijuana to the rest of Europe. Then if we go over to the northwest coast, the Galician coast, we can see that it's the logistics center for the distribution of heroin to Portugal, Andalusia, and within the community itself. 16.4% of heroin in Spain was seized in Galicia. 72.9% of hashish was seized in Andalusia. We can see it coming from places like Morocco there into Spain. So it's going through Huelva into Portugal and through Malaga to the rest of Spain. The Levante coast, big cocaine area there apparently, and Barcelona, as we saw, or Catalonia as we saw there, 13.2% of marijuana was seized in that autonomous community. So yes, drugs in Spain, how they enter and leave the country. And as I said, it has become a booming business for many people, I imagine, over the last couple of years. Seems to be a post-pandemic thing. I don't know what the situation was like before the pandemic, but ever since the pandemic, this business seems to have grown here in Spain, and Spain an important geographical place for the distribution and entry of drugs into the European continent, according to that article there. Good. Now, last piece of news. This one here, let me see if I can remember what it's about. Yes, rural tourism and villages that don't want people to visit them. The two villages that refuse to be among the most beautiful in Spain. Increased tourism would be counterproductive, they say. Spain is one of the best destinations for lovers of rural tourism. The beautiful villages that dot the national territory allow us to travel back in time through their streets, be amazed by their popular architecture, discover their culture and traditions, connect with the natural environment that surrounds them. In short, experience a totally different kind of tourism that you won't find in the big cities. Some of these localities are struggling to make themselves known, to attract travelers and not fall into oblivion. But on the other side of the scale, we find a totally opposite reality: the villages that prefer to continue as hidden gems, as places where you can still breathe in peace. Now, these stories have been making headlines quite a lot in recent times here in Spain, because every year there's there are articles published about the 10 most attractive villages here in Spain, the 10 most picturesque villages here in Spain, and a couple of these picturesque villages don't want to be included on those lists because they've had enough of people invading their towns and towns and villages at the weekend, basically. And the two that they mentioned there, we saw that there were two in that article there that refused to be among the most beautiful in Spain. One of them is this one here in Barcelona, Rupit y Pruit. And as we can see, looks like a fairly picturesque village there with the old stoned houses or buildings, river flowing past. And another one here also in Catalonia, Siurana in Tarragona, which is also a village that has said enough is enough. We don't want any more people visiting these places. So as the title of this live stream points out, these are places that perhaps you should give a miss to if you are visiting the country, because the locals don't want you to visit, apparently. And they're not big towns, they're only small towns with small populations, but at weekends, holidays, things like that, they're sick and tired of people going to these villages and taking selfies and walking down the streets, the noise pollution, the waste pollution, all of those things that take place when thousands and thousands of foreigners invade the place that you live. I can only imagine that it is uncomfortable. But as we know, Spain is a country that has promoted mass tourism. It's the model that we have in place in this country, the mass tourism model, not only in the coastal areas of the country, but also this rural tourism where they get people from big cities to travel to the smaller parts of the country, to villages like this. And as I said, there's always an article popping up, the 10 most picturesque villages in the country, the 10 best places to eat in Spain outside the capitals, regional capitals and the big cities, all of these type of articles, and this promotes this type of tourism. But towns saying enough is enough, don't come here. So there we go. Keep that in mind if you are in the vicinity of one of those towns that we just saw, either the one in Barcelona or the one in neighboring Tarragona. All right, good. Now I'm going to wrap the live stream up because I know a lot of people want to watch the game. So thank you very much for your participation today in the chat section. Thanks for watching. Thanks for the super chat there as well. I'll see you guys all again on Tuesday, a little bit earlier on Tuesday, because I think England is playing Wales. So hopefully we can get the live stream over before the game starts at 8 p.m. Spain time, 7 p.m. of course in the United Kingdom. So we'll get that out of the way. So around a 7:15, 7:20 start on Tuesday. Hope to see you then. Have a great rest of the day. Hasta luego, hasta entonces. Adios.